Welcome to Tea Trail. I'm your host, T Rad, and on today's episode of Tea Trail, Nature's TV, we're going to be looking at my relationship with Jesus, or Ben David Yeshua Christ. So we're going to be looking back, we're going to be looking forward, and we're going to be looking within. So, where did this video come from? Hey, well, inspired by my journey and my current destination, I suppose. I have found myself staying with the Jesus Army, or the Fellowship of Jesus. And I'm also aware that in the age of Aquarius, there's more information being brought forward, and if I can share my story to help raise the Christ consciousness in you, then I'm honoured. So, my relationship with Jesus, hey? Wow. So I suppose for me growing up, the first 5 years in Africa, quite unaware of Jesus and maybe even Christianity. I'm not sure if Christianity had made it to Zambia by the time of 1976. Then in my years when I came back, like going to church just didn't suit me. There was something inside of me which just kind of, nope, that ain't my bag. So I wasn't christened, which kind of makes me smile. The one that got me with church, which just sticks in my mind, is you are now entering the light from the dark, when one of their covenants is thou shalt not judge. And it just, it didn't sit well with me. So we stayed away from the church when I was younger. And then I guess through my early years, up until I became a joiner when I was 28 or thereabouts, I really didn't have much to do with any sort of teachings at all, apart from nature. And unbeknown to me, my relationships with others would have been incredible teachings at the time. But yeah, nature was my teacher. So at 28, which is when I became a joiner and I moved away from working in hotels, that's when like just this interest within me was sparked about history and the various teachers throughout time that have taught about love. So for me growing up, like one of the biggest influences was Buddhism and the Tao Te Ching, so the yin and yang symbol, which the Tao to me is still the most succinct, just beautifully written, and yeah, quite easily, for when it was written, absorbable. It's just the most beautiful teaching, hey? And that's the divine male and feminine, yin and yang, and how everything is contained within everything. And in Buddhism, I was quite big on. So alongside those two, then the teachings of Jesus were also very much around my my periphery and being taken on board. I suppose between Buddha and Jesus and Lao Tzu, they all taught love, which to me was just where it's at. Hey, so that was pretty much my introduction to Jesus. And then certainly since my awakening, which I don't know, like 3.5 years ago, I forget. And then I became a more avid student of the teachings which had come before us. Then Jesus' teachings. Woo! Oh my gosh, just so beautiful. And so on the head, as if it were. So as I mentioned in my last post about the Bible and TV and Facebook, there are so many books and Gospels which have been left outside of the Bible, and one of those being the Gospels of Essene. And Jesus was part of that group. They were visionaries of the time, magi, I think they are. So what we would know as today as wizards, initiates. They had been through the Egyptian school of the dead, which was to do with the pyramids and cleansing and exercise and diet and gaining balance of our left and right hemispheres within our brain, the yin and yang. So they were a group of powerful beings. Mary Magdalene was around and about those beings. So the Gospels of Essene, the teachings in there, are pretty much all of Jesus's, and it's just such a beautiful text. For me, Jesus is a multi-dimensional being. So he was brought forward by God or Source to show people that there is a different way of life, that we can all get on. When we practice unconditional love, then we kind of have to get along, because there's no opposition to that which we say. I loved that Jesus was a trail runner, right? So he spent a lot of time up in the mountains. He would come down and deliver his sermons or his lessons, and then he would go back up to the mountain to refill his cup, to be in touch with the Holy Spirit, and to gain more downloads, to bring back then, to give out to the people who wanted to come and listen to him. I think his diet would have been pretty much that of a vegan, especially considering that one of the first passages in Genesis, and then the teachings in the Gospels of Essene. I can't imagine the King of Peace going slaughtering animals. Do you know, that's one that gets me, hey? The closeness or the similarity between lamb and I am, and then shepherd. The word pray also gets me. So these are kind of moving away from conscious unity into religions, but when I think of the word pray, I think of like bird of prey and to be preyed on. So there's a couple of things that don't sit that well with me. So then, more recently, what Jesus means to me is nothing ever really dies, right? So Jesus left his body when he was crucified, and then he chose to come back. He taught his disciples that which he wanted to see in the world. He taught Mary Magdalene, I believe, that the most of it, and she went on and did incredible work, as did the rest of the guys. And then after a period of time, he decided to leave his body, which once you reach a certain frequency, that's something we can all do. So the difference between Jesus and Buddha decided to stay in his body, and Jesus decided to move into the ethereal realms, which means he's still very much a part of. He's in the field of infinite energy and infinite possibilities. And we still have channeled messages today from Jesus. The Jesus and the Buddha thing, there stands a chance that they could be the same people, just different stories retold for different regions of the world. So yeah, when we talk about Christ consciousness is the recognition that we are all one, that we're all contained within this field of infinite energy and infinite possibilities. And that when we readdress our darkness and move towards it, we move towards the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and we become whole within. That's when all sorts of magic happens, and we become the badass creators that we've always been. So I guess that's my relationship to Jesus. He was brought forward, so we're multidimensional beings. The idea of the Immaculate Birth is something that I've certainly read about, and in a world of vibration and in a world which is constantly reborn anew from the void, Immaculate Conceptions are certainly something that could happen. I like the idea that Jesus' mom, Mary, would have come from the Pleiades, which is a star system, which a lot of us come from. I liked that he hung out a lot with his mom, with Mary, and one of his sisters. He was a gentle, strong, determined, open, vulnerable, just a beautiful, beautiful man, and an incredible role model for all of us. So yeah, I recognize more and more that we are Christ consciousness, that the rising of that spirit within us, and the recognition that we are gods. I mean, two of my favorites of Jesus is, "Thy body is the kingdom of heaven," which, oh yeah, that's where the magic is at. Everything that is out there is in here. As above, so below. And then the other one is, "Know thyself," which, oh, that's the journey, and that's the magic. So yeah, I think that covers it. It might be a little bit more, and this is a take one. Might come back for take two. Yeah, I love everything that the figure or the person or the multi-dimensional being that Jesus stands for. I thank him. I love him dearly. Maybe, yeah, so originally God was the one, or source, and then he split into seven. She, it was, what's the word? He, she. So there are seven different rays of the first projection of God, and Jesus is one of those. About every 600 years, I believe it is, someone is sent forth to help guide humanity. And then at the changing of the ages, so we've just moved from Pisces into, or in the process of moving into Aquarius, again, other multi-dimensional beings are sent to help guide and be an example of that which is possible when we tune into a heart-centered consciousness. There you go. I've been T-Red. This has been T-Trail. If you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. And other than that, give this video a like, comment. It would be lovely to have a conversation. And share. share, share, share. Go within and share that creation with the world. All right. See you all soon. Out on the trail, maybe up on a mountain. Peace.